Hi, friends. My name is Fonda Feeling, and I have obsessive compulsive disorder. Hold for applause. I didn't think that would work. Get your laughs in now, because they're not going to last forever. So, obsessive compulsive disorder, according to the Diagnostic Statistical Manual, etc., is characterized by uncontrollable obsessions, so things that you think about over and over again, followed by compulsions. So things that you can't control, things that you are absolutely compelled to do no matter what. Sounds pretty straightforward, right? But if it's not something that you've ever experienced, I don't think that you can really fully conceptualize what it's like to live in your own mind when over and over again you're hearing the same thoughts and repeating the same behaviors to get nothing in return. The only thing that you get returned, you don't get any reward, you don't get any good feelings. The only thing that you get is, okay, this is normal. So, my very first memories in life, I was probably 4 or 5. This is my actual first memory as a human. I was lying in bed, and this would happen every single night. I would be lying in bed, and I would move my foot a certain way against the sheet. And I would feel the compulsion to move my other foot in the exact same way against that sheet. And if I couldn't get it the exact same way, I needed to do it again and again and again as a 4-year-old until I finally either fell asleep out of exhaustion or I did it enough times that I felt like I could go to sleep. So throughout my early years, I kept getting this thought over and over again, even it out. Just over and over again throughout my entire life. Later on, that continued. Everything became even numbers. First it started in 2s, then it started in 4s. It never hit 6s, it was only up to 8s. And then after that, it was 4 counts of 4. So this brings us to everything needed to happen evenly on each side, and then that needed to happen 4 times 4 each way. So you can imagine what it was like being a child growing up like that, right? It gets more complicated. So not only am I going side by side 4 counts of 4, but emotional contamination came on. This completely irrational fear that no matter what, if I touched something that somebody else touched, I was going to catch some personality trait that they had. I was going to catch something that they carried within them that I knew I couldn't possibly catch that. I knew it. And yet I was terrified that by touching a doorknob that somebody else touched, I would. I didn't touch a doorknob or a light switch for 10 years of my life. I used tissues, I used sleeves, I used everything I could to get in the way. I washed my hands hundreds of times a day. It extended in high school. Every time somebody looked at me, I thought they were looking at every single pore in my face. I wound up picking my skin for 2 hours a night, trying to pick out anything that could possibly be impurifying in my face. 2 hours a night. Could you imagine that? Not only am I going side by side, 4 times 4, not touching anything, but digging my face open night after night after night, spending hours putting on makeup in the day so nobody could notice that I was picking this apart, that I was covering my hands, that I was wearing full clothes, not touching things, side by side for hours after hours. Intrusive thoughts about maybe you should jump in that window, maybe you should cut yourself, maybe you should do anything at all, or maybe, just maybe, these are real thoughts, and maybe you should just make it stop. I got sick of having OCD. I got fucking sick of every single moment of my life being ruled by these thoughts that I couldn't control. And I didn't know how to handle that. Shortly after high school, I saw my first ever circus show. Those of you who have seen me perform before You might be more familiar with things that I do in the air. You might be more familiar with things that I do with my hands. Very few of you may have heard my voice in the past. So I saw my first circus show shortly after high school, after 10 plus years of living like this. And I saw aerial acrobatics for the first time. And I knew that if I ever wanted to do that, this thing that I was suddenly so enraptured by, I needed to be able to touch things other people had touched. I needed to be able to do things unevenly. I needed to be able to be imperfect. And so I entered my first residential treatment program shortly after high school, the OCD Institute at McLean Hospital. I don't know if anyone here is familiar with the treatment for OCD. It's called exposure and response prevention. It runs by extinction theory. Extinction theory is this idea that your body can only live in a heightened state of arousal, in fear, in panic, in what have you, for so long before it needs to come down on its own. And so in exposure and response prevention, you are exposing yourself to your fear, to your obsession, and you are not following through with your compulsion. So you are sitting there until your anxiety reaches a 10, an 11, as high as it can possibly go, and then you are riding that fucking wave until it comes down on its goddamn own. When I was 18 years old, I spent 3 months in a row giving myself panic attacks every single day to try to fight what OCD was doing to me my entire life. I did that program twice. Once 2 years later, when everything came roaring back and I had no control over it. To go back to what Daphne was saying, anytime that you say, I am so OCD, I need to eat my Skittles in a certain order. I am so OCD, wow, that's uneven. Here, let me fix it just once. I'm gonna fix it just once and feel okay and walk away. Anytime you do something like that, you are disenfranchising people like me, who lost so many years of their life just repeating themselves over and over again. Thank you for your time.